was supposed to be just another Sunday night under the floodlights of Highmark Stadium. The crowd was electric. The noise? Deafening. But in a single, brutal instant, that noise died. Third quarter. The Chiefs were down by 7. Patrick Mahomes dropped back, searching for the one man he trusted most. Travis Kelce, number 87, sprinted upfield, the ball gliding into his hands like muscle memory. He spun left, then right, and then impact. A hit came in hard from the blind side. His arm twisted at an unnatural angle. He crumpled. For a split second, the entire stadium froze. Even the commentators fell silent. The only sound left was his scream. Mahomes dropped his helmet, eyes wide, rushing toward his teammate. The Chiefs' medical team stormed the turf. 1,000 flashes from cameras fired, but the focus wasn't on the field anymore. Up in the VIP suite, a flash of lime green caught the light. Taylor Swift, standing perfectly still, hand pressed over her mouth. Her red lips trembled, her eyes glistened, and then she broke. Tears streamed down as she watched him clutch his arm, trying to stand but failing. The broadcast cameras caught it instantly, the split-screen moment seen by millions. Him on the field in agony, her in the stands, helpless. That was the image that circled the world before the game even ended. But what those cameras didn't show was what happened seconds before those tears fell. Because before the world saw Taylor cry, something quietly shifted inside that VIP suite. Something the broadcast never captured.
When the hit happened, all eyes were on the field, except hers. Taylor had seen it coming a heartbeat before everyone else. From the suite's glass window, she'd been watching Travis's every step, the way she always did. She knew his rhythm, the way he plants his left foot before a cut, the way he lowers his shoulder before impact. But this time, something was off. She gasped before the crowd did. Her friends hadn't even noticed the fall yet. And then came the silence, that eerie, suffocating kind that fills a stadium when everyone realizes something isn't right. Patrick Mahomes knelt beside Travis. Trainers waved their arms. One of them looked toward the sideline and made a quick, subtle motion, a signal only the team's staff would recognize. But somehow, Taylor caught it. She leaned forward, eyes locked on the field. "Is he okay?" someone beside her whispered. Taylor didn't answer. Her hand rose to her chest, her nails digging into her cardigan like she was holding herself together. The broadcast showed her tears. What it didn't show was the moment before, when she whispered his name under her breath, not once, but twice. "Trav, please." A fan seated just a few rows away later said she wasn't reacting to the replay, she was reacting to the fear. And maybe that's what made this moment so powerful. It wasn't celebrity heartbreak for the cameras, it was instinct. Because to everyone else, this was just another player hurt mid-season. But to her, it was the man she loved in pain. Again, a sight she'd promised herself she'd never get used to. And that's when something else hit her, harder than any tackle ever could. This wasn't the first time she'd felt the same fear. There was history here, a memory buried beneath the cheers and the cameras, because that quiet whisper from the stands didn't come from nowhere. It came from a promise, one made long before kickoff.
Before the roar of stadiums and viral tears, there was just them, a pop star and an athlete. Two worlds that were never meant to collide, yet somehow did. It started quiet, a podcast mention, a friendship bracelet with his number, and then a simple text that turned into late night calls, and late night calls that turned into something real. By the time Taylor showed up to her first Chiefs game, the cameras had already decided it was love. But what they didn't see were the talks they had off camera about fear, about risk, about what it means to show up for someone who's always in danger of getting hurt. Travis once told her, "My job is to take hits. Yours is to take headlines." And she laughed. But there was truth hiding in that joke. Behind the jersey number 87 was a promise, one they made long before any engagement rumors, long before the tabloids. He promised her he'd always play with heart. She promised she'd always be there, no matter how tough the season got. Game days became their ritual. She'd wear red lipstick for luck. He'd listen to her songs in the locker room before every game. And when he looked up at the stands, she'd be there, always. But love, even in its purest form, comes with patterns. Moments of joy followed by flashes of fear. And on that Sunday night in Buffalo, that same pattern replayed itself painfully, perfectly. Because rituals can't protect you from reality, and no amount of cheering can stop a body from breaking. Because the next few seconds on that field, caught in slow motion, would haunt her far longer than any breakup ever could.
Let's rewind that moment, not in slow motion, but in emotion. The third quarter clock read 8:43. The Chiefs were behind. Mahomes barked the play, his voice cutting through the Buffalo crowd like thunder. Travis broke from the line, slicing between defenders, the kind of move that turns seconds into adrenaline. Mahomes fired. The ball cut through the air, spinning toward him. Perfect catch. Midfield. Then came the spin, the signature move that's won them countless drives. But this time, there were two Bills players waiting. One hit high, one hit low. The kind of hit that makes the whole world hold its breath. Kelce's body twisted midair, his right arm snapping back in a way no arm should. And then, thud. He hit the turf hard, the sound echoing through the microphones. He didn't move, not for a second, just clutched his elbow, mouth open in pain, teeth gritted, eyes shut tight. The crowd went silent, even the Bills fans. The only movement came from Mahomes, sprinting toward him, shouting his name. The cameras zoomed in on the medics rushing in, but Taylor saw something the rest of us didn't. The way his hand trembled, the way he tried to push himself up and couldn't. She pressed her palms to the glass, like somehow if she could just will him to stand, he would. Her friends told her to breathe. She didn't. Not until the cart pulled up. It was over. Travis was leaving the field, and for Taylor, that was the real heartbreak, because this wasn't a loss on the scoreboard. It was a loss of control, and she knew the second he disappeared down that tunnel, the game wasn't the only thing changing. And while the stadium stayed silent, the internet exploded, turning one private tear into a global headline.
Within minutes, the noise that had died in the stadium came alive online. Phones lit up like wildfire. Clips of Taylor's tear-streaked face flooded timelines. The moment she pressed her hand over her mouth became the image of the night. Pray for Travis. Hashtag Taylor Swift crying. Two hashtags that didn't just trend, they erupted. Every corner of social media was spinning the same narrative. The pop queen in tears, the football star in pain. But while the world obsessed over the spectacle, few realized how fast it all happened. One camera cut, 2 seconds of footage, a blink, and suddenly the entire planet was watching her heartbreak in real time. The crowd inside Highmark Stadium stood frozen. Even rival fans, Bills fans, rose from their seats and clapped as Travis was helped toward the tunnel. It wasn't rivalry anymore. It was respect. Up in the suite, Taylor tried to stay composed. Her lips were trembling. Her mascara ran, and yet she stood. She clapped, not for the game, but for him, for the man she knew was fighting through more than just physical pain. The contrast was haunting. Down on the field, a man who defined strength, now struggling to move his arm. Up in the stands, a woman who built her life on grace, now unable to hold back emotion. That image, him fading into the tunnel, her wiping tears with the sleeve of that lime green cardigan, it wasn't just viral content. It was human, raw, real. Millions reposted it, millions speculated, but few stopped to realize what that tear meant, because behind that one moment of emotion was a wave of panic, fear, and love colliding all at once. And in the middle of that storm, Taylor whispered something no mic picked up, something the people closest to her swear they heard. Just 3 words, soft but trembling: don't let go. But inside that glass suite, while the world kept watching, Taylor wasn't thinking about the headlines. She was fighting her own kind of panic. Up in that glass suite, time seemed to stop. But inside Taylor Swift's mind, it was anything but still. Phones were buzzing, cameras flashing from below. Every movement she made was being dissected in real time. game, and she knew it. Yet in that moment, she didn't care who was watching. She just wanted to move, to run down that hallway, past security, past the cameras, past the noise, and reach the one place she couldn't, the tunnel. A friend beside her, Brittany Mahomes, placed a hand on Taylor's shoulder. "She's okay," someone whispered behind them, but Taylor didn't answer. Her eyes stayed fixed on the field entrance, the one where Travis had vanished. Inside, panic was clawing its way up, her breathing shallow, her fingers trembling as she tried to check her phone for updates. Nothing yet. The Chiefs' medical team had gone quiet. Reporters were tweeting guesses. Then came a message from a staffer close to the team. "He's being evaluated. No word yet." Her shoulders dropped, not in relief, in dread, because no word yet never meant good news. To the cameras, she looked composed. Tears gone, posture straight, hands folded. Classic Taylor, the picture of poise under pressure. But under that facade, she was unraveling quietly. One witness later said she whispered something like, "Should I go? Should I go down there?" Her friends told her no. It would cause chaos, attention, headlines. So she stayed, rooted to the floor, living out the longest 10 minutes of her life. She didn't blink until she saw the Chiefs' sideline shifting again, a substitute taking Travis's place. That was the confirmation. He wasn't coming back. Her hand fell to her chest again. She whispered his name one more time, softer, almost like a prayer. Then she looked away from the field entirely, unable to watch another play. To everyone else, the game went on. To her, it had ended the second he left. But this wasn't just a game or a setback. It was a reminder of what it truly costs to love someone who lives beneath a helmet.
Loving someone who steps into battle every week takes a different kind of courage. And Taylor Swift, for all her fame, her fortune, her spotlight, had never faced this kind of fear before. Because every time Travis Kelce put on that helmet, she wasn't watching a football game. She was watching a man risk himself for something bigger, something he couldn't walk away from. And yet that's what she admired about him, his purpose, his fire, the same kind of obsession she had for music, he had for the game. Maybe that's why they understood each other. They both knew what it meant to live under pressure, to perform when millions were waiting for you to fail, to smile when you're hurting, to stay silent when the world demands answers. But love, real love, doesn't exist in the highlights. It lives in the quiet moments, the in-betweens, like her hand brushing his before kickoff, the good luck text before each game, the inside jokes that made long flights feel shorter. And that night, watching him disappear down that tunnel, Taylor realized something deeper. She wasn't just cheering for him to win, she was praying for him to walk back out. That's the hidden truth behind every stadium kiss, every viral camera cut, every sideline smile. There's always fear tucked beneath the fame, because loving a man whose life depends on collisions means accepting that heartbreak isn't a possibility, it's an inevitability. Still, she wouldn't trade it. Not for a quieter life, not for fewer headlines, not for anything. That's what makes this love story different from all the rest. It's not built on fairy tales, it's built on faith, the kind you can't rehearse, can't control, can't fake. And as the noise of the crowd faded, that truth sank in. This was more than a romance the world was watching. It was a test, because deep inside that tunnel, away from the cameras and the chaos, a decision was being made, not just about the game, but about what comes next.
The tunnel was colder than the field, quieter too, just the echo of footsteps and the muffled roar of a game still moving on without him. Travis sat on the bench, his jersey torn at the sleeve, sweat mixing with pain. A trainer steadied his arm while a team doctor crouched beside him. "Can you move it?" he tried. The wince said everything. They ran tests, mobility, swelling, response, every motion slower than the last. Finally, the doctor sighed, low and certain. "You're done for the night." Those 6 words hit harder than the tackle, because for a player like Travis, walking off the field isn't just leaving a game, it's leaving a part of yourself behind. He looked up at the small screen in the tunnel showing the live feed. The Chiefs were lining up without him. Mahomes glanced toward the sideline, the space where 87 should have been. Then another image appeared, a shot of Taylor in the stands, wiping away tears. He saw it, just for a second, before the camera cut back to the field, and that second was enough. Enough to make him breathe out, lean back, and whisper, "I'm fine." Even if he wasn't, a staff member helped him to his feet. He shook his head when they offered the cart. "I'll walk." And he did, step by step, through that tunnel, pain in every stride, but pride in every breath. Not for the cameras, not for the press, for her. Because if she could stand there in that glass box, holding herself together for him, then the least he could do was walk, no matter how much it hurt. Up above, Taylor caught sight of him. For one fleeting moment, his figure appearing at the far end of the tunnel, lit only by fluorescent light. Her breath hitched. He was walking, and that was enough for now. The crowd erupted again, not for a touchdown, but for resilience, for a man who refused to be carried. The world didn't know yet what the scans would say, or if he'd play again this season, but that didn't matter, because in that moment, Taylor wasn't thinking about the future, just the relief of now.
By the time the game ended, the real battle had already begun. Not on the field, but online. Clips of Taylor crying replayed in endless loops. Pundits turned whispers into theories. Some said her presence was a distraction. Others claimed she was a jinx. And somewhere in that chaos, the truth, the human truth, got buried under hashtags and headlines. The noise was deafening. Podcasts debated her every reaction. Gossip sites rewrote the story 100 different ways, but none of them saw what happened when the cameras turned off. In the locker room, Travis sat in silence, not scrolling, not talking, just thinking about the pain, the game, and the woman upstairs who'd watched it all unfold helplessly. And miles above that noise, in her car leaving the stadium, Taylor sat quietly too, her phone buzzing non-stop with notifications, but she didn't look at it. She just stared out the window, replaying the hit, the fall, the silence. That's the part people forget about fame, how loud it gets when you're hurting and how impossible it is to find quiet. But that night, in different rooms, they both made the same choice, to tune it all out. No statements, no explanations, no posts or tweets, just silence. Their rarest form of peace. Because sometimes love isn't about proving anything to the world. It's about protecting the parts of it that the world doesn't deserve to see. And maybe that's what separates their story from every headline that tries to rewrite it. It's not perfect. It's not polished. It's real, messy, unpredictable, painfully human. Taylor once said in an interview, "You can't control the story people tell about you. You can only live the truth you know." And that's exactly what she did that night. The truth was simple. She loved a man who played through pain, and he loved a woman who stayed, even when it hurt to watch. Everything else, the noise, the rumors, the theories, was just background. Because when the crowd fades, when the lights go out and the field goes quiet, all that's left is what's real. And that's where their story truly begins.
Hours after the game ended, the stadium lights dimmed, and the chaos that had shaken millions dissolved into quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't calm you. It echoes. Taylor left through a side exit, wrapped in an oversized coat, her lime green cardigan folded over her arm like armor that had done its job. She didn't speak to reporters, didn't wave to the cameras waiting outside. She just kept walking. Inside the car, she finally exhaled. No makeup touch-ups, no rehearsed smile, just a woman letting herself feel everything she'd been holding back. Her phone buzzed again. One name on the screen. Travis. "Just a strain," the message read. "I'm okay." She stared at the text for a long time. The words simple, the relief complicated. Because okay doesn't mean safe, and in their world, safe doesn't last long. Still, she smiled. A small, tired smile, the kind that says, "I'm grateful, even if your heart's still racing." Later that night, she posted nothing. No statements, no cryptic lyrics, no emojis, just silence again. Because sometimes silence says more than any caption ever could. Meanwhile, somewhere in Kansas City, Travis sat with his arm wrapped, scrolling through clips of the game. He paused on one, a zoomed-in photo of her in the stands, tears in her eyes, watching him limp away. He didn't repost it, didn't comment. He just saved it. Because that was their moment. Not the internet's, not the NFL's, theirs. And for all the noise, all the speculation, all the eyes on them, that's what keeps this story alive. Not the fame, not the spectacle, but the small, quiet proof that behind every headline, there's still a heartbeat. The next morning, fans woke up to headlines like "Taylor in tears after Travis injury," "Kelce walks off field," "Swift seen praying." But between those headlines lived the truth. A woman loved a man enough to cry for him, and and a man cared enough to walk for her. The cameras caught the fall. The world replayed the tears. But the real story, the one that will last, lives in what came after. When the lights went out, when the crowd went home, when it was just them, quiet, hurting, grateful, and still holding on. And maybe that's the beauty of it all, that even under stadium lights, even with millions watching, some love stories are still written in silence. Because sometimes the loudest moments in life are the ones the cameras never capture. Was this just a scare or a turning point for both of them? Only time and the next kickoff will